Welcome to this week's edition of The Passion of the Digital Artist. And here he is, that passionate digital artist himself, Jeff Mueller.
Woo! How are you, Xavier?
I am great, Jeff. How are you?
I'm super. This week we're going to do things a little bit different. There's a bunch of stuff coming up, but it's just been I'm going to be doing a format change, doing a lot more promoting of other people, giving a little, insight into painting, kind of like how I think about different tools, or what I think about as far as creating my paintings. And then also we're just going to keep doing little sections and little different parts, kind of spicing things up. But this week you've got something to say.
Yes, I kind of left a teaser there with the last blog. I had the opportunity and privilege to perform with my friends Joe and Connie Williams of Joe Williams in Deepwater. And I performed with them a few songs at a wedding reception and delivered, singing lead vocals and playing rhythm guitar, a song especially for the bride and groom, and it went down pretty well. How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, the first thing is I would like to promote Dr. Joyce Knudsen. She has, I met her through Twitter, and we've been talking back and forth. She asked me if I would read her books. I bought 2 of her books on Amazon. They came on Friday, so I'm going to do a little promotion. The first book that I finished already is The Successful Failures. And it's a book about musicians and their stories, a number of musicians covering all walks of life, all different types of music, and it basically covers their stories and how they and their roads to how they became successful. Now, it's inspiring for anybody. You don't have to be a musician to read this book. Me being an artist, you just have to be somebody who has the desire to accomplish goals. And this book is a really good book on how a lot of people throughout their lives, although they sometimes lose track of their goals or they lose track, they stay persistent, and eventually being persistent, positive, and getting through some hard times leads them to success. So, and it also covers other people who are successful throughout their lives, but then certain things happen to them that knock them down or take them out of their success and what they do to get back. So it's a really inspiring book. It's a very good read. It's on Amazon. It's called Successful Failures by Dr. Joyce Knudsen.
Very good. I'm going to have to get that book from you.
Yes, that takes me to the next step. This week, what I wanted to do, I was looking at, and there's so much that in creating artwork that could go into it. There's so many different mediums, and each person develops his own path to creating and expressing himself. There's so many different ways to go. Now, the key to creating artwork is similar to what was in the book I just, Successful Failures, is basically picking a path and making goals, and although the path changes, sticking to it and staying positive. So this week I wanted to cover, in this video blog, I wanted to cover composition, artistic composition. And I chose this particular painting.
Gallery Friday Night.
Yes, and I chose it because it covers all the different aspects of composition. There's many different ways to form composition, but the main ways are negative and positive spaces, mostly consisting of, when you say negative and positive, lights and darks, or highlights and shadows, shapes, and then colors. So you basically have, when you're creating a painting, you've got layers of composition happening. For instance, I've chosen the large horizontal format. I like to go more horizontal based off of when I was starting out as an artist. Composition did not come easy to me. I went into commercial art, and through advertising, even in there, I worked with a person, actually my cousin, who was a phenomenal person, Brent Mueller. He was phenomenal at composition. He understood composition, logo design. It came easy to him. For me, I would have to work at it, and I'd work at it and work at it and I'd work at it. And what happened was, when you have to work at something so hard, and it's not so much, it wasn't a weakness, but it definitely wasn't a strength, but it kind of would show. You could tell that it was forced composition. But after doing it for 29 years, it started to come easier to me throughout that time. Then, when I chose my position change and got out of the art field for my main job, when I started getting back into painting, I found that composition started becoming a lot easier for me. So in this case, it's obvious. You're dealing with the composition of this painting, and you're dealing with a large white space up here. So, knowing that you have a large white space, then you're also dealing with perspective. These people in the foreground are larger than the people in the background. But, so in essence, to counter this large white space, there's two things that happen. One, I dealt with this white space back here. This initial projection on the wall back here wasn't as light as what is showing in this. I lightened it up to proportionately kind of, as this goes back in perspective, although this is a much larger space, this white space it's smaller, but it's filling.
It's adding some balance on that side.
So it balances out this large white space using a little bit of white. But if this was all that was there and they were standing there, that would not do it. By adding this large head into this part of the painting, and the hair, and it being light in itself, and being the closest thing to you, opposed to this, when you're looking at something, this person standing here is much closer than these people. That's what really balances out the lights.
Gee, Jeff, you must have been standing really close to that person's head.
Yes, considering it was my wife.
So considering that's Rachel, yes.
We can all tell that by her ear. But then, now that's the first, dealing with that light space. Now, what's happening in the middle? You're dealing with what's happening in the middle is you've got this space to the dark. Now, this is darker, but it's as this fades to light, this normally would be a little bit heavier because of its darkness, but adding the color of the blue starts to balance that part of the space. Now, this dark space, which is somewhat of a tough thing to deal with, a dark space at the top of the painting. We'll get into why in a little bit, but that is also balanced out with the group of darker people here and this dark space in the corner. So what you're doing is you're creating movement through shapes and darks and lights. Now, as far as the color goes, it was fairly simple because of the fact that we're dealing with a wintry scene, and if you look, most of the people's darks, it was pretty much darks and lights, and then dealing with hair colors, and then dealing with the blues. So I didn't get too complicated with the actual color. But if you notice, the one thing I did do is everybody pretty much is blue or black. But if you notice, throughout here it's blue and black and there's a little bit of red here. As you go, there's this tan color, which is balancing once again, trying to pull you, not just getting stuck in here, pull you back. Tan color, or this grayish tan color in the middle of the painting, and then also the green. So
and if I can add, and I've just noticed this, and I get exactly what you're saying. If you look at the color tones on, in the extreme right, the lady's coat, the lady with the large purse, then there's two gentlemen. Those color tones, you kind of have the pastels or contrasting colors of those coats on the wall. And I just realized that's what you did. On the wall over on, as you go to the back upper left of the painting, that's awesome how you did that.
Right. So you're basically, now, what is the purpose of composition? One, it's pleasing. One is to keep the people, someone looking at your painting, interested in your painting, and moving them throughout the painting with a balance that if you can move them, they're going to view your painting longer. For one, because they understand, they might not know exactly why the balance is happening, but they understand it because it has them look at everything. A bad painting with bad composition, what'll happen is you give them an out, and they'll look at it, and they're just out of it. And when someone's with composition leads you out of the painting, that means the person looking at it is going to leave. So you're always looking at, when you're doing a painting, you get your first, when I'm looking for the painting initially, I look for the composition in the actual world. That's what I'm doing when I'm capturing. The composition has to be there. And when I see it, I know it. Two, the horizontal format helps me a lot because it's similar to what I was working on in advertising when I was working on spread ads. Also, I like that composition is the long, thin format, is because of high definition television.
That's just what I was thinking. That's very consistent with the proportions, the aspect ratio of high def TV.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer, but it's still, it works. Plus, my stuff is also digital. So going into digital, it fits the high definition monitor. Those are all thought out things that I came up with before I even started doing all this. This is what I wanted to do, and I love to do it. So the last thing is when you put all the color, the lights, the darks, and the spaces, what you do is create almost a symphony within your painting. You're basically taking all these aspects and then moving people around. If you look, no matter where you start, there might be a reason. If you look, you start here, you're drawn out here, you go through here, you're almost out here, but you drop back down here, you take a look, it brings you right back in, right through there, and you want to go there, but then you look at you're here, this could be an out, but because of this large format, you're into the detail of that foreground piece, and then you can, so you're basically, it's awesome distractions to keep somebody looking at your painting. And that's what composition is. The whole idea of composition is to balance it and make it work to the point where the person viewing it, although they might not understand why, they keep going through it and enjoying what you put into it. So that's composition, folks. That's what I wanted to cover this week. If you have any questions, feel free, ask them on the video blog, ask them on the website, in the comment area, ask them on YouTube in the comment. I will be willing to answer any questions about composition. Just let me know. So that brings me to the last part. What's happening this week? Real brief. Turn in the painting. Market Zero. It's at the gallery. Getting ready for the show, October 25th, the Due to Bide show, the Big Lebowski themed art show. I invite anybody to come. If you're a Big Lebowski fan, it's going to be a great show. We're going to have refreshments and snack, all themed for the Big Lebowski.
And is this at 2nd April?
Yes, this is at the 2nd April gallery in Canton. If you want to come, contact me. I'll give you directions to the gallery.
Excellent.
Then Bright Lakes Big City is framed in its box, ready to ship next Friday. Dropping it off. That'll be dropped off. That is for the November 2nd show. It's an opening for the Stark County artists. It's at the Massillon Museum in Massillon, Ohio. Inviting everybody in the area to come to that, and anybody who wants to. It's going to be the what would you say, the first museum show I've had of one of my paintings.
Congratulations.
So that's it for this week.
I think we pretty much covered it. Yep.
So we will see you next time.
Take care, folks.